is Fru Nkimben. I'm the host of African Hour here at LTC Lowell. Today is a wonderful and a very important day for African Hour because I have a very distinguished guest who have devoted, I would say, 3 years now talking about the struggle in Cameroon. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce to you our guest, special guest. To my is Mr. John McDonald, who is the producer and host of City Life show here in Lowell. And to his left is Mr. Clifford Krieger, who is the co-host and producer of City Life show. Gentlemen, you are welcome on African Hour.
Glad to be here.
Good. Before we start, I would like to extend greetings from the people on ground zero in Cameroon, thousands of miles away that you have never met, but they have watched and listened to you on the City Life show, and they would really want to know from both of you what has really got you to spend every month 1 hour talking about their sufferings and the killings and what they go through. They said they are very, very thankful, and they want me to extend their appreciation. And they would really want each of you to talk to them. What really prompted you to be talking about them so much?
Cliff's going to start.
I'm going to start. Well, I blame you for, you brought this to my attention. I wasn't really aware. I try and be aware of things. For instance, when I was much younger, before your time, I guess, I followed the problems in Nigeria, Biafra, the Civil War, and it seemed like a terrible thing. But you brought the Cameroon problem to my attention, and that caused me to pay some attention to it. And it is not a good thing. And I see it through European eyes in a way, the Anglo-Saxon approach to government versus the civil code mainland European approach, which is different. And I prefer the Anglo-Saxon common law view of things, and talking to you, I think you do too. And then a couple of years ago, I did my DNA, and I found that I have that much, 1% from Togo and Benin. So
oh, welcome, brother.
I'm from the, yes. So I'm from that little Gulf area there, that part of Africa. Some small part of me, and another 1% from up in the Maghreb. Maghreb, yeah. So you know, the world is full of people who are blends, and so in a way we're all involved. It's just like I'm very upset about the Hong Kong thing right now, but I've been following Cameroon a lot longer, and yeah, I would like to see a peaceful solution. I'd like to see something that allows everybody to have their freedom and to develop. And I believe in, I'll throw in a 25-cent word, subsidiarity. Decisions must be made at the lowest level. So I believe that, and having all the decisions made in the capital of Cameroon is not the solution for the people down at the local level. And murdering people in order to enforce things is not the way to go. It's wrong, morally wrong.
Thank you very much. But for 3 years that we have been together, you've actually revealed on public TV that I am your brother. I didn't know that you have some African in you. Thank you very much.
When I was young, one drop, we had the one drop rule. I don't know if you know about the one drop rule?
Yes.
One drop qualified you as black, African American. What makes it funnier is that when I was growing up through 7th grade, I lived in a sundown town. Sundown town where if you were not a Caucasian, you had to be out by sundown.
Wow.
So, and I have a couple stories about that. I didn't know at the time, but we had my mother went back to work as a registered nurse, so my parents hired a woman from the town next door to clean house once a week, and one night she stayed a little late, and because she was African American, she asked my father to walk her the block and 2 houses to the bus stop because it was after sundown.
Wow, thank you.
But that was back in the 50s, early 50s.
Thank you, thank you. John, I think sometimes you become very emotional when you see some of the graphic images. And
When I first heard your story, we got together, we talked about it, and I said, it's TV. We gotta have pictures, we gotta have video. That's the only thing that my government's gonna believe. We can tell a wonderful story, we can tell a terrible story, but when you have pictures of government authorities murdering their own citizens, that hasn't happened since World War II with the Nazis. And I have enough Jewish friends that would have much bigger families today if there was public access back then. If you could just spread the word and prove to people, the Cameroon government is killing its own people. Now this has impressed the President of the United States. It's impressed the senators from Massachusetts. We just got a brand spanking new congresswoman, but our former congresswoman, Nikki Songa, she was very impressed by. When you see the video, it is very heart-wrenching to see how the government of Cameroon is killing its own people just because they don't like something about them. Their own precious people. It's terrible what they're doing there. So I think that we're trying to do a good thing by spreading the word of the terrible thing that the Cameroon government's doing to its own people.
Okay, thank you very much. Another thing which I really want you to let my audience understand is you've received some funny calls threatening you.
I got death threats, yeah.
If they can call you from wherever and be threatening you, and then you must be doing something very, very important, and you should equally know how much of a hot seat people like me are. So
well, it's a real threat to you. To do what you're doing, it's a real threat, because these people back in Cameroon, Ambazonia, they're vindictive people that are life-taking people. And for you to be the hero that you are, to bring this forward and to showcase this and to help us showcase it on City Life to the thousands of viewers that we have every morning, the international viewers, when the first time you were on, I got calls from Spain, France, the second time you were on, that's when I got the threat from somebody in a real long phone number from and I thought, look at this guy's got to be calling me from Cameroon, because there's no country code, no nothing.
And they're calling you from very odd hours because of time difference.
Yeah.
Right?
And it was just, he's threatening, we're going to come and get you. I said, come on, come on up. But it was, the guy was very angry about what we were saying.
Thank you very much. Cliff, let's go back. For the past 3 years that I've gotten all of you so involved in the struggle, and you seem to know a lot about the Ambazonian. And recently, American audience and the American government is already reacting positively. And I do think that City Life show and the discussion, and I remember, John, you sent pictures to the White House after every show. So could you, not only to the White House, but to the Lowellians and people who look at you and said, wow, these people are, how, I mean, the images, how did this impact you, both of you?
It's very upsetting to me. I understand war, but this isn't war. This is civil war, and it's a terrible thing. And when you see the pictures of people who have been murdered, people who have died because of the violation of the law of war, illegal killings, it's very upsetting to me. I was in the military for 30 years. You know, there's a code of conduct, there's laws of war. You need to follow the laws of war. And military killing civilians is, from my background, that's a B-no. You avoid civilian casualties. I think that the military, as I understand it, is probably under a greater prohibition than the police are with regard to protecting civilians. Will civilians die? Absolutely. But they should not be deliberately targeted. And so that's very upsetting to me. That, yeah.
Good. John, what are your feelings? I mean, when I bring all these gruesome images, I sometimes I feel that I may be overloading your emotions and getting you so how, I mean...
this could have happened to me. This could have happened to Lowell. This could have happened right in the town that you live in. It's the local government is just like looking the other way, letting these troops come in with their machine guns and just killing people, and then setting them up to make it look like they were defending themselves. These people don't have guns, but when they're dead, they put the gun on them and they make them look like they had a gun, but they didn't have a gun. The thing that it's just, as Cliff said, a terrible, terrible fact. It's not a nightmare, it's a fact. And it's just, it has to be showcased to government authorities, because the only thing that the government is going to understand is a good hit in the wallet when President Trump withholds money from them, when Senator Warren withholds money from them, when Senator Markey withholds money from them. They'll understand a lot better when they can't buy a new tank or a new set of guns for their troops to kill more people in their country. It's going to hurt them.
It bothers me as an American taxpayer, because there are American military forces in that part of Africa, and it bothers me as a human being that the government of Cameroon cannot shift its focus to these small issues when there are big issues. Boko Haram is running around in Cameroon, in northern Nigeria. In a lot of that area, Boko Haram, which is all things Western are bad, they are trying to impose their social religious views by force on people, kidnapping children, terrible, kidnapping girls and mistreating them, to say it nicely. The government of Cameroon should be focused on that problem, which is a problem in the north of Cameroon, but they're not. They're focused on this other issue. So they're not bringing the people together. They're pushing them apart and making them vulnerable to these kinds of attacks. It's a bad thing. And that will impact the rest of the world, because it will cause refugee flows. People will leave Cameroon because of the fact that they find it a terrible place to live, and they will go elsewhere, and that will have a ripple effect. And even today, there are people from Cameroon who are coming across the U.S. southern border looking for refugee status, our border with Mexico. So we can see that this is not an isolated little thing. Impacts are worldwide.
Cliff, thank you. You put your finger right on the issue. The government itself, the military, is even doing worse than what Boko Haram is doing. Because right now, they burn villages, burn old parents, you saw the pictures in the house, burn blind, sick, the lame into their houses. And what they are doing yesterday in Bamenda, they went on a food market.
Yesterday, the 22nd, 2019, we are in Saturday, we are in my 12. Yeah, see what the forces of law and other those that are there to protect the population, but they have come to destroy. See, like the buy and sell them in my 12, they have destroyed everything. I'm sure that the world is watching. I'm sure that the world is watching. I would like to put it on record and on everything that the world is watching. They have frustrated people's life in Santa in my 12. They have frustrated people's life in Santa in my 12. I'm sure that the world is watching. I'm sure that the world is watching. It is a reality. I'm sure that the world is watching. They have frustrated people's life in my 12 and in Santa. We're in my 12 like this. They have frustrated people's life. I'm sure that the world is watching, and people that are trying to pick the remaining, and there is no way. The people that were depending on them to protect the population, but they are the ones destroying them. They are the ones that have frustrated many people's lives. I'm sure that the world is watching. We want to put it on record and on everything. I'm sure that the world is watching. I'm sure that the world is watching. They have frustrated people's lives. I'm sure that the world is watching. Many's life has been frustrated. I'm sure that the world is watching. The world is watching. They have destroyed everything. The thieves for one day, even takes for one day, go with them. Destroy the rest. They not carry at all. I'm sure that the world begin to watch them. But once more put them on record and on television, those that will begin to depend on them for protect people, them, but now they want them. They destroy, kill, destroy we. Would they for inside Santa for my 12, for Mezam 1, for inside Bamenda. I show that the world is watching. They don't spoil chop, they don't destroy. I've been so the drinks made the world is watch them. Once they put them on record and on television, may all people they begin to see them. I show that the world is watching. This is too bad. This is too bad. This is too bad. This is too bad. Too bad. Who start an arsenal? President.
And just destroyed all what was being sold, the vegetables, and crushed everything. So it is really it is worse than what even they are doing up north with Boko Haram. I believe they learned some tactics from Boko Haram that they are using that on the English-speaking people in Cameroon, because you would not believe that almost about 500,000 refugees and people and children and families are in the bush. And you would also, it would be shocking for you to understand that for 3 years now, students have not gone to schools. Some of the schools have been targeted and burned. So the situation in Cameroon is really in very dire need. John, I mean, we talk about this.
What the government does in Cameroon and Ambazonia comes down on satellite images. President Trump sees these satellite images. He sits with the French president, and the French president can't deny them. Because you go, okay, this is this village last week with the date. This is the village completely burnt out. This is the village while they were doing it. And when you have this kind of proof, and you just, I should show it like you're showing me that when you bring me the pictures of the murdering of people, you can't deny that. And the government doesn't realize that the satellites can look down and read the book that you're reading.
I think another very, very important angle to the crisis outside is I think we in Lowell have done such a wonderful job to be able to bring the crisis to the American. The proof of it is you are talking about this crisis. I believe if all Ambazonians, all Southern Cameroonians out of the country could really reach out to people who are not Ambazonians and actually bring them like what we have done here in Lowell, then the world will know about, because we are the ones to inform and educate our host. What I've really realized is we talk to ourselves. So is there any advice that you would look to the Ambazonians in the diaspora? Because another one negative thing is we fight so much on social media and so negative. Is there any, is that productive?
I'm going to toss it over to Cliff. I have my ideas, but I want to hear what Cliff has to think first.
I think that you're right that people have to reach out. Now, I'm on Representative Lori Trahan's email list, so she sends me items and asks me questions, and sometimes I answer her when I have a thought. But you don't have to wait for her to reach out to you. You can reach out to her. Yeah. You can get her website up, and then you can send her your thoughts on something and tell her. Now, one person does it, maybe she'll pay attention if you're a great writer. But if 10 or 15 or 20 people do it, someone on her staff will say, hey, there's a trend here. There's a group of voters. And that group of voters will talk to other voters, of course. So that will catch our attention. People who are in office want to hear from you. Well, they don't want to hear from you, but they need to hear from you, and they'll shape their view. I went out looking, because I'm trying to set it up for the show. I got the Ed Kennedy's email, our state senator, and his phone number down in his office. It was simple. Ed Kennedy, state senator. I put it in my computer, and the website popped up. And the 3 state reps. And then I went looking for the guy from Pelham, and his name popped up because the show now goes to Pelham, New Hampshire. It's what I didn't do was I didn't go for the person from Tewksbury. I did go for Cullen Gary, who's up in Drake and Tingsboro. They're there, and if a few people write to them, they'll notice a trend. And so it's a case of the voters educating the representatives.
So if I understood you correctly, you are saying that Southern Cameroonians who are here in America, they should pick up the phone and reach out to their elected representative in the various areas that they are. Because if they cannot reach out to their elected officials, and not only reaching out, but they should also be involved in civic duties in the areas that they are, because that is how they are noticed.
If they are citizens, they vote.
Yes.
They should vote. If they don't vote, well, shame on them. But they should vote. And then, if they're not citizens, I'm hoping they're becoming citizens, then they can influence their neighbors who do vote. And they can say, if someone says, yes, so, you can say, well, I've talked to my neighbors. I would like you to please do thus and such. And I think that that's the kind of thing that we need to do. That's political activism.
And I take that very, very seriously, because even if they cannot vote, it doesn't mean that their neighbor, their church minister, people that they go to work with will do not feel their pain.
Exactly.
You are not talking about Ambazonian because I am a citizen. You are talking about Ambazonia because you have seen something wrong somewhere as a human being. But if they are Ambazonian in your neighborhood, they don't make you feel their pain. How would you be able to reach out to the world? So thank you very much, John.
I was going to follow-up. The rule of my house, if you didn't vote in the last election, we don't want to hear what you have to say. Vote. Be active.
I got the most reaction when I emailed images of what's happened in Cameroon. When I emailed Elizabeth Warren, the images, just a few images of, and that video. There's a video out there of...
The video that they were shooting, that army was shooting a woman with a baby on the back. They tied their eyes.
That one there?
Yes.
That is proof positive, because you can see these are military people killing a woman with a baby live on color TV, and I could not believe. Why do they even video this stuff? That's what the Nazis used to do. That's why, at the end of the day, those people who are killing these kids, killing these people, are going to pay. And the only way you can make them pay is you have to write your state senator. Okay, so you live in Mississippi. Find out who your U.S. senator is. Get an image of them murdering somebody. Put a date on it. This happened December 1st, 2019 in my country of Cameroon, and we support Cameroon with American money. Please stop sending them money. That's going to help. If you live in Florida, if you live in California, wherever you live, find out who your U.S. senator, never mind the congressman, go after the U.S. senator, because there's only 100 of those. And how many? Never mind, there's too many congressmen.
435.
Yes.
But the Congress, there's only 100. Those guys and gals are the movers and shakers in America. So I don't care whether you live in Alaska, Florida, Mississippi, every state has 2 senators. Go on the internet, find out the email address, write them a nice letter. Be nice, don't be threatening, because they can't, those are the only people who can help you. And if President Trump gets 10 senators that calls him and says, hey, what's this stuff going on in Cameroon? It only takes 10 people to influence the President of the United States. The President already knows about this stuff. But to move this thing forward, to have it stop, you have to write the U.S. Senator from your state. You have 2 of them. Please consider doing it. It's free, email, the images are already out there. Please consider doing that.
If you're at square one and you don't know who your senators are or your representative, go to Wikipedia, 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 put in your state. If you look down along the right-hand side, it'll tell you who the 2 U.S. senators are and who the representatives are. If you live in Alaska, it's easy. Don Young's the rep. There's only one. You know, if you live in California, there's 30-some, 40 of them. So you have to figure out which one's yours. But that's easy enough.
Senators in California?
No, representatives.
Probably waste my time out there.
So, well, the video that Fru sent us, I think last week, was Mr. Nagy talking to a congressional committee.
Yes.
The chairwoman, Miss Bass.
Yeah, she did travel to Cameroon as well.
Yes. But she's from LA. Her district, her House Rep district, is the one next over from Adam Schiff, who is in the news all the time these days. She's not in the news, but tracked her down.
Thank you very much. I would also like to state that Lowell has a very, very a unique relationship with the people of Southern Cameroon, because since
Sister city.
You got that right. Yes, since November 5th, 2002.
Next is a resolution supporting and establishing a sister city relationship in Bamenda, Cameroon, whereas the city of Lowell is cognizant of the plight and the people of developing nations, and in particular the people of Bamenda, Cameroon, and whereas the city of Lowell is desirous of rendering assistance and support to the people of Bamenda, Cameroon in their efforts to achieve democracy, safeguard human rights, and generate economic prosperity, which will benefit both Africans and Americans alike. Before I say any more, roll call.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Councilor Howe?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armand Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Tenza?
Yes.
Councilor Rung?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas. Thank you very much. In the audience this evening are people of Cameroon who live in the city of Lowell and are very festive in their costumes. You look wonderful. It is my honor, on behalf of my colleagues in government, our city manager, to welcome you here to City Hall. I remember when we had your king sitting over here as well, and it was quite a remarkable experience. It is my honor as well to present you with a citation, and if I could have Mr. Fru Kimbeng up here.
The City Hall officially exchanged communication and established a transatlantic sister city relationship with Bamenda, that's the city of my birth, with Lowell. And Lowell, I would also say that Lowell was the first city to vote unanimously to condemn what the problems that are going on in Cameroon, and BBC picked it up. And I mean, I would like to say that Lowell, we thank you so very much, and for being ahead of all the other cities and being a trailblazer. And
We are ahead of the curve in Lowell.
you are, we are.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the people of Cameroonian descent came to me and asked if this council would support a resolution denouncing all the atrocities that had taken place, and they brought numerous pictures up that would really frighten everyone. Even though they're Lowellians now, their heart still remains in their country, and they know from relatives back home and family members all the atrocities that are going on there. So if they ask us to help in any way, they needed a resolution. And it isn't just about that I brought it up, it's the fact that my colleagues support it. We support it as a body. We can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. But we brought it up last week through the motion. We referred it to the city manager as well as the city solicitor, Christine O'Connor. She brought it up today, and we will vote on it so that you may present it to your government.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milanazzo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Council Belanger, did you want to pass this for signatures?
Yeah.
We are.
But we've done more than that. We've had officials come visit in the last few years from
yes,
Ambazonia.
I was just about to say that.
Welcome to Lowell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First, I think our audience would benefit from a little bit of background on where we have come today. And so I wonder if one of you could talk a little bit about the political history of Southern Cameroon.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I want to thank the community for hosting us. We have just come from the City Council, and the mayor opened his doors to us. And this is not the first time that the mayor has opened his doors to Southern Cameroons. We know that one of our forms has been a guest here before 2 times, and so we're thankful for that. If I ask you what language is spoken in Cameroon, if you ask that question to the average American, they would say French. But that is not true, because the Republic of Cameroon, or the 2 countries that up until now are led by Mr. Paul Biya, speak English language and French. 20% of that nation speaks English. But it has completely been abandoned and forgotten, to the point where across the world today, most people think the Cameroon is a French-speaking country. If it was a French-speaking country, why would it be a member of the Commonwealth? So, just down memory lane, in 1919, when the First World War was fought, the Germans were won in that war by the Belgian, the French, and the British troops. As a result of the spoils of war, the nation was split into 2 and handed over to the French. 80% of it was handed over to the French, and 20% of it was given to the British. The British took their own stretch, which covers 1,500 kilometers from top to down, And they split it into two. The top part, they named it the British Northern Cameroons, and the bottom part was named the British Southern Cameroons. The top part was associated with the Northern House of Chiefs, or Northern House of Assembly, and the bottom part was associated with, was merged with the British, with the Eastern House of Chiefs, House of Assembly in Enugu. We fast forward to 1954. This was in 1919. In 1954, the British Southern Cameroons were becoming very uncomfortable with the Eastern House of Chiefs, and they decided to go back to their own nation. So their parliamentarians walked out of the Enugu House of Chiefs, House of Assembly, and all of them together went to Boya and started their own nation with institutions, the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. In 1959, in that small nation, they had an election where the incumbent prime minister was actually defeated. Dr. Ndele packed his things out of the prime minister's lodge, and John Gufoncha moved in as the prime minister. I'm giving this background because further down it will be important to understand why our people voted to then go and join the Republic of Cameroon as we know it. On the 1st of January 1960, the Republic of Cameroon became independent from French colonization. On the 1st of October 1960, the Republic of Nigeria became independent from Great Britain. As of that 1st of October, the small stretch of land from the north to the south of the British Northern Cameroons and the British Southern Cameroons remain a trust territory of the United Nations. So on the 11th of February 61, this British Southern Cameroons was given a choice to vote in a plebiscite to either become independent by joining the French Republic of Cameroon or the British Federal Republic of Nigeria. These two nations had been independent before this day. So our people voted, and that's why I brought the story of their moving away, because as of that moment, most of our forefathers asked why the choice of them being independent on their own was not given to them. But the British government at the time thought that they were too small to be independent. And they did that with the complicity of the United Nations. I say complicity because if we were too small to be independent, as we speak today, if we become independent tomorrow and change the United Nations configuration from 193 to 194 nations, we would be more populated than 94 of those countries.
Please extend my gratitude to the Congresswoman. I wish we had more time to eventually visit and see them. I hope this is the beginning of many visits, and that this friendliness can only increase. So we're very grateful and thank you for hosting us in a wonderful city. I saw the city and I'm saying, this might be home, but when we start our nation, we are hoping that we get some of the architects to come and help us design some city halls in our place. So, that your city has actually trained and educated Southern Cameroonians from as far back as the 70s. As a matter of fact, you train them so well, and then you eventually give them jobs, and most of them have become permanent residents in your city and contributing so much here. I thank you for hosting our fund 2 times in a row. We hope that this relationship will strengthen, and not only he will come another time, we will have more of our chiefs and funds come to visit, because there is something about this kind of visits that will help us as we try to build our own nation.
Yeah.
John, I mean, and Cliff, you met President Sisiko Ayok Tabe. That was
He's a great guy.
In 2017 when he came here. And the sad thing that happened to him and his members of government, all of them, 10 doctors, well-accomplished people with very good intentions to fight for the liberation and the freedom of the people of Southern Cameroon, now the Republic of Ambazonia. when they were in Nigeria, they were arrested and thrown in jail. And all while some of the images, some of the advocacy that you, City Life show has done, I believe that it has also helped to elevate our cause to the international community. You met them here
Yes,
in John.
very nice people. We had a lot of laughs, a lot of smiles. That was a good day.
And in fact, well, one day they will watch these images. Is there anything that, even though most of them, or all of them, most of them are languishing in the jails in Cameroon, and the jails in Cameroon is not a pleasure trip that you can go there. It is very, very horrible because most people who come out, you know, they are, I mean, very, very horrific stories. Our leaders who visited you, and then those are the few Cameroonians who have happened to, you have met. Is there any thing that you can tell them? This is your moment to just send them some words.
When I met the president, he's a genuine gentleman, loves everybody, and why they put that guy in jail is mind-boggling. Why would you take such a beautiful person with such a hot woman personality that has met thousands of people in America and toss him in jail? Because he's got thousands of followers in this country that pray for him every night. And puzzling what the government of Cameroon has done to that man.
I recall the visit. We met in the mayor's reception room.
Yes.
I was impressed with both the people from Cameroon and from the people from came up from Boston, so who were good representatives of Cameroon. The thing that surprises and disappoints me is that Nigeria would arrest freedom seekers from Southern Cameroon and turn them back over to the Cameroonian government. That's a disappointment to me, and I'm sorry to see that. It makes me think less of the Nigerians.
Well, Cliff, I mean, I think what you've said is very, very emotional to me, in the sense that these are black people doing this. They were in Nigeria, they filed for asylum.
Yes.
So by Nigeria doing that, and when you think of Nigeria and Cameroon, these are people, because it's just because of those artificial lines that were drawn since 1884, the partition of Africa, who would have been brothers and sisters, and Nigeria could be our keeper. But they are the one, someone running away from being assassinated, being killed, and all of them were professors teaching in Nigerian universities. For the government of Cameroon to violate Nigerian space and come and kidnap these people, and Nigeria allow them to go back, I don't really know if there is any international rules that a nation like that could...
I understand tribalism has been with us for thousands of years in Africa, in Europe, in North and South America. That, heck, in Massachusetts, when the Pilgrims arrived, there were fights amongst local Native American tribes. And the original Pilgrims, their first Thanksgiving, were aligned with one tribe that had suffered from disease and needed an ally, and they got it. So that was Thanksgiving. But you know, it's 2019. We have developed ideas that are bigger than tribes, and we've developed ideas of civilization, and to violate those ideas is wrong, and it's not productive. We don't want to go back to being 1,000 tribes across the face of the world. That would not be good. Not good.
Thank you very much. And Cliff and John, you have actually interviewed people, Southern Cameroonians from all over the world, from South Africa, from Cameroon itself, the 93-year-old...
Louisiana, I think.
Yeah, and one from Louisiana, the 93-year-old Pa Mola Litumbe that you talked to. I mean, from getting from... the feeling that comes across from these people that you have talked to all over the world, have not met, how do they, I'm just trying to understand how you connect with people that you've not met, and you seem to carry their pain, and you've provided me with a platform to be able to bring the Ambazonian struggle to the world. I would forever be thankful and be grateful for the people for what you have done. And I just want you to comment on when you talk to people thousands of miles away from South Africa, from Douala, Cameroon, a 95-year-old person who's experienced and telling you the ordeal that they are going through. You sitting here in a white man's country, you are listening to all this, and then you are trying to console that person and digging more information for the whole world to know what is going on. How does that relieve you?
Well, it's interesting to me to get first-hand experience from somebody in another country. And because of technology, basically the cell phone, you can talk to somebody in real time. You just got to match up the clocks. We live in a different time.
We have 6 hours difference.
But you're able to ask the guy, and you can verify that this is really going on in different places, different people's experiences of the murderous things that are happening, and to have this guy who's half a globe away tell us what's happening in his town is just very convincing to our viewers to help them understand this is happening today. This is not history of World War II where they were killing a bunch of German Jews. This is happening in 2019. Still happening today. Very important that we get the word out. That this is today. It's happening right this instant.
I like what John says about getting out and meeting people, because I've lived in England, Germany twice, Italy, Philippines, overseas countries, Alaska, and I've been stationed in Vietnam and Thailand.
Were you in Libya one time?
I have been in Libya a number of times, including I was there when Muammar Gaddafi overthrew King Idris. That was in the late 60s. We evacuated all the airplanes that day because we didn't know what was going on. So meeting the locals helps you get a better idea of what's going on locally and figuring out what people are thinking. My wife asked our German babysitter, Ms. Stilt, once, she said, Ms. Stilt, what do you think of the Americans being here, late 1960s? And Ms. Stilt, being a young teenager, said it out straight, yeah, it's a lot better than the Russians. But you said that you described this as a white man's nation. I like to think of this as a common law person's nation, that we can go back to the Magna Carta, trace, even though it's England, we trace back, and my German name Krieger, we trace back to the Magna Carta, we trace back to common law, the rights of Englishmen. And rights are important. That gives you the freedom to do things and be who you are, to succeed in life. And I hope everyone adopts that sort of outlook on life. Just my prejudice, I guess.
Thank you very much, and I think this is a wonderful discussion. And I really appreciate your precious time talking about the problems in Cameroon. And it is my understanding that you are not just parents, but you are grandparents.
Great-grandparents.
Great-grandparents. Good.
I'm not there yet.
Could you really...
Young kid. This is just a young kid.
I'm the younger. I'm a parent, so I'm not a grandparent yet. So could we... what advice would you give to the 85-year, 86-year-old great-grandfather who is ruling Cameroon and destroying the future of the country? This bloodshed that is really has been going on for, I would say, for 50-something years. It is just now that the Ambazonians have really turned on the light on what he has been doing. If for 3 years, if the president of Cameroon could really watch the images of what is going and it doesn't touch him, means this is not new to him. So what, as a grandfather or great-grandfather, do you have any message for the 86-year-old leader of Cameroon, Mr. Paul Biya?
Go ahead, Cliff. I get my thoughts.
I say that if you want your grandchildren to succeed in a big way, they have to live in a place where there's freedom, knowledge and freedom. They have to learn. They have to be free to be who they want to be. And then their life will be much better. But the idea that you keep things locked down, it's not going to make life better. It'll just be more of the same when there's so much more out there, so much more opportunity.
Grandpa, Grandma, do whatever you can to get that kid to America. Send that kid to America. Let the kid come here, let that child come here. We have a fantastic educational system. Every single kiddo in Lowell goes to a public school, and we pay $17,000 per student to go to our school, to get the best teachers, the best education for the children in our city. And we have about 80 different languages that are spoken in our schools. So we have kids from all over the world coming to our city to learn. Lowell is not a city that is prejudiced against anybody. My mother, Lord rest her soul, taught me something always stuck in my head. We're all like little batteries. Batteries that go in a flashlight. You can't tell there's 2 or 3 different kinds of batteries in a flashlight, but they all have energy. We all have the same energy, the same spirit. So Grandma, Grandpa, you got to find the money to get that kiddo to come to America.
Okay. Yeah, well said, John. What I meant you to send a message to the tyrant, the leader of Cameroon, who is sending these armies to assassinate, burn Southern Cameroonians in their houses, burn hospitals, burn school, and burn little kids. Women are now in the forest, some of them under terrible conditions, that you could look as a grandfather, that you have your own kids that you sing to and tell them story. This 85, 86-year-old leader of Cameroon, does he really have a heart? If you could really look at the mirror and tell him what you are doing to your country citizen, what is it?
Hitler lost the war because he killed his own people. You're going to lose your position because you're killing your own people. And I just want you to understand it. You can shield yourself. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. Kill more of those people. Because you're killing your own people, God is against you. And the people you're killing, their relatives are never going to forget this. You're going to lose your seat of power.
Thank you very much, John, and thank you, Clifford. It's wonderful that You've really been the voice of Lowell talking to the world about Ambazonia. And I cannot wait that glorious day when Ambazonia will have its independence. And I will bring you guys, we'll march down the streets of Bamenda, which is our sister city, and sing hallelujah. So do you have any closing thoughts or something that you want, message that you want to send to your fans thousands of miles away that always asking me when is the next show coming through? Do you have anything to uplift them? And also,
I'd say you have to live in the day. Enjoy every day. Enjoy every single day you get. Every morning you get, just enjoy that day the best you possibly can. Because there's somebody on the planet Earth that has a worse life than you. And in America, we have this thing called Facebook. We can look at videos to bring our spirit up. And I just watched a video before I came here of people in a couple in Indonesia where the woman's husband has no legs. She only has one hand. And they are the happiest couple I saw all week. So you make your own happiness. We love you guys. Sorry for the struggle that you're with. We're going to do everything we can on our end to make it stop. Enjoy every day you can.
Keep the faith. Hang in there. It will get better.
Thank you very much. And on that note, I really want to take this opportunity on behalf of my brothers and sisters who are across the ocean, and Cliff, of your brothers and sisters too,
yes,
from Africa, that you both of you have, you are not forgetting them, and that you have them in your thoughts, in your prayers, and you have actually created a wonderful platform for me to be able to bring the stories of Ambazonia, the Republic of Ambazonia. I would like also to thank the city of Lowell and the wonderful people of Lowell who do everything to make the Cameroonians and the Africans here in Lowell feel at home. I always say Lowell is the United Nation of cities, and that if you want to travel around the world in 7 days, come and spend 7 days in Lowell. You would have met someone from every continent of the world, and would have eaten a dish from every continent of the world, and would have enjoyed the culture, the dressing from people from all over the world. So this all-American city has so much wonderful people who have feelings for people all over the world. I would like also to thank our gracious and devoted technical person behind the camera, Sumitra. Thank you so very much. Your job. There are so many things that people do that affect the lives of people in Southern Cameroon. On that note, I would like to say, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
God bless you.
Thank you, John.
Guys.